Thank you to those of you who followed my journey in the early 1980s, when I could easily have become another statistic in the tragic list of young women who fell victim to the Yorkshire Ripper. As I mentioned in part 1, there was one other occasion when I feel I was watched and protected. Again, it was the 1980s, but this time it was in Los Angeles, California. I was a newly qualified classics teacher and had been in my post for 3 years. It's now 1986, and I had met a young man who was studying at UCLA, but was over in England on holiday. I was still a naive young woman who had never been abroad, so the invitation to visit my new boyfriend while in LA was exciting, and now that I was working, affordable. Now the plan was that I stay for 6 weeks, starting when I broke up from school for summer and returning to England a couple of days before the start of the autumn term. The travel agency sold me a flight ticket for the 17th of July with a return date of the 1st of September. Well, I landed in LA, exhausted but super excited. Cracks began to show quite early, however, when I realised that having to get a taxi to his home rather than him greet his girlfriend who had travelled thousands of miles was something of a silent, ticking bomb. He did at least upload my luggage and make me a cup of tea when I arrived. From then on, however, the excitement began to wane, as time after time I suspected that something wasn't right, something inconvenient about my visit. Yes, he took me to discos. Yes, he took me to the places the like of which I would never see in England. And yes, he took me to see a charity football match, watching Maradona live. Wow. Grateful I was, but something didn't ring true. Shortly after he took me to Pasadena to meet some friends, I realised what it was. He was dating me while having another somewhere else. I heard him talking to someone on the phone, and it wasn't an order for a McDonald's. I challenged him, packed my bags and called a taxi. It was week 2. For someone who is supposed to be intelligent, I hadn't thought this one through. I impulsively asked the driver to take me to UCLA halls of residence, on the off chance that I could stay there. Had I researched the potential risks of travelling alone at that time, I would have realised that the British Embassy was there to help. I spent the rest of my time just wandering round shopping malls. One in particular, I think, was called Century City? Beverly Hills, anyway, not as nice as I had imagined. But it was great to look at the handprints in the Chinese Man's Theatre. Rodeo Drive was great, and I'm sure I walked past Dustin Hoffman, would you believe? So yes, some pleasant moments amidst a chaotic, unpleasant holiday. So there it is. Yet again, 5 years after the last incident, I found myself spiritually and physically safeguarded. I have since found out there had been several serial killers in the California area at that time. The most prolific one, I believe, was called the Golden Gate Killer. It seems, despite all this, I was safe. I flew back to Britain early September and returned to work as planned. I'm not sure if my listeners have faith like me, or if some of you are agnostic. What matters to me is that I've been looked after when needed. Some might say I was just at the right place at the right time. But whatever your own views, I wish you all peace and goodwill wherever you are. Please like, share, subscribe to help me continue with my new channel. And if you prefer, tell me of any times when you felt unsafe and needed protection. So until next time, bye bye.